Just started. Welcome to the live panel. It's going to be titled The Journey to Excellence. And we have a great host of guests here who we can learn from, who we can gain from their experience and understand from their expertise. But just before we get started, we're going to have a short talk by Sabrina Stocker. So can we all welcome her, please, with a big round of applause? So, Sabrina, as many of you will know, was on The Apprentice last year, and you came, is it fourth? Something along that, yes, she came fourth. She runs her own business, and she's the CEO of My Tennis Events. Sabrina started playing tennis at the age of 7. I'm not going to go into too much detail, because I know she wants to talk about her experience as well. Her family is full of sports professionals. Her father is a professional snooker player, professional snooker player, and his claim to fame was beating Ronnie O'Sullivan. Her younger brother Kyle is just turned 18, and he will be on the ATP circuit next year playing professional tennis. And Sabrina herself was playing tennis at a very young age, started coaching at the age of 14, moved on to get a master's in business, and started her own business at the very young age of 20, only 3 years ago. So Sabrina is a young entrepreneur. She's been on The Apprentice. She's played professional tennis. She's a coach, and she's got a whole wide range of expertise and experiences that we can learn from. So she'll do a short talk, and then we'll move on to the panel. Please, can we welcome her with a big round of applause?
Thank you. I do feel like after such an elaborate introduction, I've got quite a lot to live up to. So thanks for that. So I actually was at the first ever SJRS coaching. You okay? Perfect. First ever SJRS coaching in Northwood a few years ago with Abbas. I think that was 4 years ago, 2014. So before I do begin and tell you a little bit about myself, can we just give Abbas a huge round of applause for this amazing journey that's happened. So thank you so much, and it's really inspiring to be here. So a little bit about myself. My name's Sabrina Stocker. I'm 23 years old, and I'm formerly a tennis coach. Is this okay? It's quite echoey. Are we okay? We're good, perfect. Formerly a tennis coach at David Lloyd in Northwood. So a couple of familiar faces from there. And that's also where I first started my tennis company. My background is I'm a very local girl. So I was brought up in Eastcote, just down the road. Very, very into racket sports myself. So I grew up when I was 12 years old. I won a competition at Queen's Tennis, which was really exciting. Definitely the highlight of my tennis days. I was also Hillington badminton champion. And I have to confess, before going into the tournament, my teacher said, because you play tennis, you'll probably be quite good at badminton. And during the tournament, in the final, the girl refused to play me because I kept smashing down smashing it down on them due to tennis. So that was a lot of fun. And then also a very avid table tennis player. So if I've got a bit of time and you fancy a game, that would be a lot of fun. So today I'm going to be speaking to everybody a little bit about how tennis has created my mindset to be able to be where I am now. And growing up, I absolutely love tennis. And a quick raise of hands to all of you players who play tennis more than once a week. And a raise of hands who play tennis this week. Okay, let's give them a quick round of applause. There we go. So playing tennis growing up meant that it was all down to me. And it was me going on court, me creating the results. And then if I didn't create the results that I wanted to, that I had 100% down to myself. I had nobody else to turn to. Obviously, when you're going on court, you have different situations. You have to adapt to the environment, adapt to the player, create a new strategy every single time you're playing, and then also adapt to the weather conditions. But ultimately, it is down to you. And my dad, who unfortunately isn't here today, he was always saying, do you want to go and play tennis? And he was such a big inspiration because he never forced me to go, but he always gave me the opportunity to go if I wanted to. And the same with my brother. So a quick raise of hands if any of you know Kyle. A couple of you. So Kyle, my brother, he was the one who actually asked my dad to go. My dad was going, I've had 7 years from Sabrina, and now I've got Kyle going. But it has paid off. So to all of the tennis players in the audience and all of you sitting here, it's your job and your responsibility to put yourself out there and make it really exciting. The other side of tennis I found is you don't always win, and it's really hard when you've been practicing and you've been playing and you've been coaching and everyone around of you has invested so much time, but you come off court and you just can't win every single match. And that was probably the hardest bit. It was learning how to recover from not winning and not being able to kind of succeed in a match. But the one thing that I did notice was even though I couldn't win, every single time I stepped on court, I could learn. And that's exactly the same in my startup business at the moment. So running a business, quick raise of hands if you have your own business. A few of you. It's really hard. And you make it look, if you're doing a good job, it looks really easy. But behind the scenes, you've got many, many sleepless nights trying to figure out different challenges that come ahead. You try something and you invest so much time and it still doesn't work. But learning again, not knowing that I'm going to win every single time, I know that I'm going to improve. And when it doesn't work, I know for the future when it does work. Does that make sense to everyone listening? Yeah, got a couple of nods. So I guess the main thing I wanted everyone to take from today is having sports as a background growing up has given me the motivation, the self-assurance, and the self-esteem to be able to do what I am now. And it was the same when I was studying as well. So I did a master's, I got a distinction, which I was really, really excited about, but not because I was naturally clever, but because I worked really hard and because I put the time and the dedication and the hours behind everything, just like I did growing up, was exactly the reason why I became successful. Can I have a quick raise of hands if anyone has watched The Apprentice here? Okay, so I will address that, of course. I've got a couple of questions from there that I always get asked. So the first one being, do I really have to wake up at 4 a.m. every single day? And the answer is yes. So we were up at 4 a.m. We had 20 minutes to get ready. And for anyone who did watch the show, everyone else was looking really glam. I wasn't. I don't know how we were expected to get ready in 20 minutes, but it did happen. The second question I always get asked was Lord Sugar scary? Yeah. He was, but he was also really nice. And he's a massive, massive tennis player, the same with Claude, who, by the way, is like a cuddly teddy bear. He's really nice. So every time we were off camera, we'd always be talking about tennis. The producers weren't very happy with that, but we did have some great conversations. And it was really nice that, knowing we come from completely different backgrounds, we still had that topic to be able to speak about. In terms of my favourite task, it would be definitely the Body Expo task. A quick raise of hands if you've seen that one. So we had to go to Birmingham to a Body Expo, and I had to go on stage with no equipment, and I had to demo this fitness equipment. So we were selling battle ropes at the time, and I had to improvise the battle ropes as I was on stage. It was a lot of fun, and it just reminded me how going into different situations, it wasn't about, do you have a brain on you, or are you good at this particular area that you were, but are you good at adapting and are you good at problem solving? And that was definitely the biggest thing I found from the tasks. And then lastly, did I enjoy the experience and how has it changed the business? Well, I've been running my business for 3 years, and I think I wouldn't have got onto The Apprentice if it wasn't for my tennis background. It wasn't for my mindset that I got from being a tennis player, and also if I wasn't running a business. So yes, it has, and it's opened up so many opportunities after the show. But even those opportunities wouldn't have come if I hadn't been working behind the scenes. Things like social media, which I had no idea about. before going on the show, or how to promote and create new networks and come to amazing events like this and really push myself out there. That is the difference between going on something like the show and then actually creating an opportunity. So I would like to open any questions to the audience. If we have any buzzing questions, please do not be shy. Yeah? I did?
Which is the favorite of the three racket sports you play? Is it tennis, table tennis, or badminton?
So my favourite of the three racket sports would definitely be tennis. We'll get a round of applause for that.
Can I ask you, why is it that there is something special about tennis which no other sports can do that you have experienced?
100%. I think playing tennis, which is special and it's something that other sports don't do, is the fact that you go on court and you can be anywhere in the world and you can be with anybody of any ability and still have a good time. Because even when I went traveling recently and being able to play tennis and be able to learn off different people and then being able to play at any single age means that's something I'll always be able to have and no one can take that from me. And it's a lot of fun as well. Oh, that's okay? Right, we'll go for one last question. Really good question. How did I motivate myself when I lost a game? Well, can you have a quick raise of hands if you've ever played a tennis tournament? Okay. Can you win every single tennis tournament? Can you learn and improve every single tennis tournament? So every single time I went on court, I made sure that there was one thing that I practiced that my coach had taught me. For example, it could be my top spin or my footwork. And during that match, I made sure that that was the one thing that I made sure I really, really practiced that. So I knew when I was leaving, even if I didn't win the tournament, I knew I had gotten better, and therefore that kept me motivated to keep going. Does that make sense? Perfect. Right, I think we're handing it back. Thank you so much, everyone. I will be around later.
So, exciting times. We've got our panelists all ready and waiting. Do you want to take your seats? So for everybody out there, this panel is entitled Journey to Excellence. And that's not just excellence in sport, but excellence in life. Please sit down. Thank you so much. Hope there's enough chairs. Should we sit on either side, Ron? So I'll just introduce everybody quickly, and then we'll move to some questions. So next to me, conveniently, is Sukaina Habib, mum of Ali Habib, who's not here because he's in Serbia at tennis camp. And Ali, I understand, is joining the ITF, the International Tennis Circuit, on the International Tennis Circuit. Fantastic. Then next to Sukaina is Nadim. Welcome, Nadim, all the way from Sweden. Nadim is in the top 10 for his age group. You're 16, is that right? 15. So Nadim is 15 and is in the top 10 in the country in Sweden in his age group.
So we didn't actually plan the seating arrangement, but it's very conveniently done. Right next to me, we have Zoltan Koso, who's been playing table tennis for 31 years of his life. He's a national cadet champion in Serbia. He's a full-time coach and for 7 years in the UK. And he's currently head coach in Cumberland Table Tennis Club in West Hampstead, you said? Right? So that's Zoltan. And right next to him, we have Heidi Lesser. Is that the right pronunciation?
Nicely done.
Thank you. I'll take that one. So Heidi is the non-executive director for England Squash, and she helps develop the strategy for the sports in England and helps guide the executives for England Squash. So she operates at a very high level in the sport of squash. And obviously we have Sabrina right next to her as well.
And in the middle here, our superstar for the day, Asif Karim. Real pleasure to have you here, Asif. So Asif, I know many of you know, former Davis Tennis Cup player, and also obviously led the Kenyan cricket team for a number of years, including to the semi-finals in 2003. And personally, apparently, knew my grandfather very well, so that was a personal aside. So let's start with you, Asif, please. If you don't, it's really difficult not to call him Asif Uncle, I have to tell you. But anyway, so let me just ask you, cricket and tennis, killer question. Cricket or tennis, what's your favorite?
I'll support definitely Sabrina what she answered, why tennis is a better sport. I regard tennis as a royal sport. It's a wonderful sport. It's, as she explained very nicely, on what comes when you are on a tennis court. You come through different adversaries, you come through success, and you must be able to handle both the good and the tough situations so that you improve as you move along, not only on your tennis career, but personally in life. So tennis is the one.
Great. And is there one particular tournament, and again, don't have to stick to tennis, but is there one particular tournament that really sticks in your mind over your career?
Well, obviously, every success is something that you must treasure and enjoy, but everybody talks about the World Cup 2003 against Australia. So that definitely tops the result.
The Cricket World Cup, wonderful. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you this as well. Most embarrassing moment on the sporting arena? Don't need to know about your personal life, but on the sporting side, most embarrassing moment?
Yeah, I think there was one that always sticks in my mind was the 1997 ICC
just
trophy.
Remember the audience.
Yeah, ICC trophy, which we played in Malaysia, and we were playing against Bangladesh. So it was a short game, 25 hours after it rained, and so the target was going to be 165. So it says target 165. So we were in the tradition of playing back home that score means you have tied. So when the game went to the last ball, the score said 164 was last ball. So we said, well, even if they get one run, we've tied the game because the target, they wrote 165. We thought as a team that it's 166 to win. So when it gets to 165, you see the Bangladesh team jumping, and so we said, what are they jumping about? It's a tie. Only to realize that we lost the match. So that was an embarrassment.
That's definitely a moment to remember. Excellent. Thank you so much, Asif. Right, let's move to... actually, you've got a question.
I'm sorry, we have floating mics, so we have to run around here for the mics. So, Zoltan, just to ask you a quick question. Obviously, you're a coach. Zoltan's son, Zoltan Jr., is also a young 10-year-old professional athlete playing table tennis. What advice can you give us as a father, as a parent, as a coach, on what are the ingredients to make a good professional table tennis player?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think the most important is, as you heard from the people here, is that you need to fall in love in the sport. Because if you love the sport you are doing, you're going to sacrifice your spare time to train. As to be great in any sport you do is about the hours you put in. And you can only put hours in if you love what you are doing. My suggestion is that in this age, the kids here at the front, very soon you would need to decide for which sport you want to stick, and the minimum of hours a week you have to put in is about 10 to 15 minimum to be good. If you want to be professional, then even much more.
That's very sound advice. And just from your personal experiences as a player for 31 years, what is your favorite memory or your best moment as a table tennis player?
So the best memory was when I won the Serbian cadet national champion, and in the semi-final I played against a guy who never beat me. I never beat him before. We played about 5 or 6 times in different tournaments. I never took even a game of him. And that time the game's been played up to 21, and the score was 1-1, and I was 16-8 down. And basically, mentally, I quit, and I started chopping. However, I was a offensive player, and I won 2 points because it surprised my opponent what I'm doing. And then my coach stood up and started shouting at me, "If you do that one more time, I'm going to throw the towel in. Will you give up? That's it." Okay. So I started playing again and managed to turn the match around. I was even 2017 down. I won it, and then I won the finals.
Wow.
So that was a great memory. Thank you.
I have to say, I'm sure a lot of us can learn from the perseverance and the mental toughness that you have to struggle in during the game, especially with the big crowd watching you, your coach shouting at you, someone you've never beaten before. So it must have been a really proud moment for you. That's really nice to hear. So Heidi, just to pick your brain on England squash, what kind of development opportunities are there for younger kids? What advice would you provide to young athletes here looking at squash? I know something Sakina was mentioning to me earlier is when she watches squash on TV or on YouTube, you can't even see the ball. So how do we get around this?
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure. So squash is making a journey, and on television it's much better now than it was. So try and get new news clips or from the PSA or a Eurosport player. There's some really good ones out there. And England Squash is working on developing their media and viewing. So it's improving all the time, and the courts look spectacular. I think at the Commonwealth Games was it New Zealand or Australia? The last one, the court looked fantastic. So would definitely encourage you to go and watch some of the highlights from that.
Another quick one. What kind of support does England Squash provide for the training and development of younger athletes?
So the best place to get into squash is to find a local club. We were talking about travel distance for parents. You all are really, really busy people. Find a local club that's got a really nice environment and culture to it. Find a coach who you really like. Find some friends with it as well, because sport is all about friendships. I know in squash, there's some of my best friends that I've done do my activity with on a weekly basis. In terms of opportunities, once you've found that club and that setup, play twice a week as a minimum. Find competition opportunities. England Squash offer sanctioned events through copper or bronze events that you can take part in. Your county association will hold competitions as well. And if you're that good, you make it to your regional level and you become selected to be part of Aspire, which is where England Squash starts developing juniors for the England squads.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Sakina, who's got a couple more questions.
So I'm going to come to you, Sakina, if you don't mind. So obviously we just, as I said, Ali's off in Serbia. So I guess I wanted to know, when did you know you had a special talent, the responsibility for a special talent?
Well, it just started off as an after-school hobby. He was just going once or twice a week at the age of 4. We just put him into tennis just for fun, and he was enjoying it. We continued with the sessions, and I think by the age of 6, he kind of played his first tournament.
Wow.
It was just a club tournament, and he reached the finals in that. So we thought maybe there's a little bit of talent there. But to be honest, I think it's a lot of hard work he's put into. As well, you can have talent, but it's a lot more hard work that is put in, the hours that he puts in.
I met Ali's little brother earlier. Have you got another budding tennis player on your hands? Death matches?
He enjoys the social side of tennis, not the competition side. So,
right, sounds
that's good for us. He's just there at the front.
Okay.
Competition is not for everybody, but he's quite happy playing good level of tennis.
Because otherwise I can imagine the tension in your house. It must have been too much.
Too
And I'm going to have to ask you, when are we going to see Ali at Wimbledon?
Well, the plan is for him to be kind of ready next year to play junior Wimbledon.
Right.
I think this year
Exciting.
was too tough because he had his GCSEs.
Oh my goodness.
So from December until now, it's literally just been studying.
Wow.
He hasn't played that many tournaments. And when you don't play tournaments, your ranking goes down. So we didn't want to put that pressure on him. So he's done his GCSEs. He's gone out to Serbia now to train for 3 weeks. And then when he gets back, he's going to be playing some ITFs in Europe, in Luxembourg, Belgium, for about 3-4 weeks.
Right.
And then he'll come and play the grade 1 juniors. It's the night junior final.
Right.
Here in the UK. And then now he's just going to continue playing.
And does that
ITF.
mean trips to Luxembourg and where else were you going to?
Belgium? and
Belgium.
Luxembourg.
So you're going to...
Yeah, so we normally take him.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
massive
either-
commitment from you and your husband as well.
It is, yeah. It is a big commitment.
Right.
Financially,
Yeah, of course.
as well. But we enjoy it, and, and we want to support him to, achieve the best.
Good, good.
So that's the plan. And by next year, if he gets a good ranking, hopefully he can get in to Junior Wimbledon.
Exciting. I'm going to ask you to hand your mic to Nadim. Nadim, I'm really grateful that you're on the panel. I know that English isn't your first language. Can we ask you, and I know all the kids here want to find out, how many hours of tennis do you play every week?
I play about 11, 12 hours a week.
Crikey, that's a lot of tennis. And what's your primary motivation? Is it playing tennis, having fun, or winning?
All three.
All of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you. And who's your favorite tennis player, professional tennis player?
Right now it's Federer.
Federer. Good choice, good choice. Why? Why Federer?
He's a really good person on court and a good role model
Yeah,
for kids.
he is, you're right. He's a great role model. And do you think one day you might ever face him on a court?
I hope so.
Do you think you'll win? Yeah,
Yeah.
of course you will. Well done. Thanks, Nadim. And
Sorry, so we've got a lot to catch up on. So just a quick question, and then we'll have some time. The panelists will be here if anyone wants to have some conversations with them. Sabrina, I'm quite keen to ask you, there are obviously people in the crowd who may not be able to excel in the sporting platform, perhaps due to lack of opportunity or different challenges. What would you suggest, and it's really nice to see that you've taken the entrepreneurial pathway in sports, how would you suggest or recommend ways to convert that sporting passion and divert that energy into different ways through sport?
Good question. In terms of converting whatever your energy or your passion is into something, if you have a strong enough passion and a motivation to do something, then you'll do it. So no one's going to ever wake up in the morning and go, okay, you've now got the opportunity to go and make something, or you've now got the opportunity to try something new. That's all down to you. So unless you take that passion and that drive and you know what you've got to make it succeed, then you will make it successful. And if you won't, you'd have enjoyed trying and making it that way.
That's great advice. So we're going to have to close the panel off here.
that's right.
Thank you very much. I'd like to record my gratitude and appreciation to all the panelists for your very kind advice. It's been really, really great to hear from you and to learn from you. I'm going to ask you to stay seated for a couple of quick moments, and I'm going to hand over to Jamil. But before that, can we please have a big round of applause for all our panelists?
Thank you very much. And whilst, can I ask our three councillors, let me just get their names before I pronounce them incorrectly. Rena Ranger, Debbie Morris, and Councillor Clemens to come forward. Just gonna give you a few.
Thank you.
So we've had an excellent under-9 and under-16 tournament. We're going to finish the under-16 tournament on this court straight after this, so please do not go. The under-9s, we had about 26 kids over 6 groups. And I want to show our appreciation for them, because at that age, it's not easy. We saw a few tears, but we want to appreciate their effort on court and actually off court as well. We get these kids every week on a Friday evening playing for 2 hours or an hour at this age. So if you are an under 9, and I'm going to ask Mikhail, you're going to get a trophy, so you can't get a medal as well. So you're going to sit down. But actually, I want you to come and shake hands with our counselors. So if you played in the under 9s tennis, why don't you go to one of the counselors, shake their hands, get your medal, and then just stand at the front. We'll get a quick picture of all of you together. Everyone just stand there, and everyone stand toward the camera there so we get a quick picture. Yeah. Can we get the panelists to stand up as well, please? Councillors coming. Everyone clap for the under 9s. Thank you. Okay, so if I can ask those on court, just step back to court number 2. We're going to have the finals on this court right away, the under 16s. Everyone smile to the... Okay, that's it. Okay.
So we're just going to convert this court into the finals. If you want to just move along there. Quick couple of announcements. The panelists will be here and moving to the fan zone. You can have a conversation with them there.
Councillors and panelists.